कुछ होने में और बहुत कुछ होने में इतना सा फर्क है, एक बार सोच के छोड़ देने में और लग के कर दिखाने में। मान लेने में कि जिंदगी ऐसे ही कटेगी और सुबह 4 बजे उठ के सोचने में ये अभी तो बस शुरुआत है। किसी मैगजीन को हाथ में लेने में और उसी मैगजीन के कवर पेज पे होने में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वीआईपी सीट में और उसकी पिछली सीट में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वो जिसका मैदान ही खुला आसमान है, वही कल जमीन पर तो था। पूछोगे तो बताएगा वो पंछी, ये एक दायरे में सिमटने में और पूरी दुनिया को दायरा बनाने में बस इतना सा फर्क है। इतना कितना है? इतना है या इतना है? जो नापेगा वो जाने कि जहां धरती और आसमान मिलते हैं, नानकुर से दूर, अगर मगर शायद से दूर, वहां भी दोनों में फर्क बस इतना सा है। धरती और 7वें आसमान में फर्क बस इतना सा। ये एक अंतर प्रेरणा है। ये हमारी, आपकी, हम सब की अंतर प्रेरणा है। एक कदम, एक छलांग, एक बाजी, एक गहरी सांस और एक ललकार खुली हवाओं में कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन फिजाओं के लिए, कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन ऊंचाइयों के लिए जो ऊंची तो बहुत है पर नामुमकिन भी नहीं, क्योंकि मुमकिन और नामुमकिन में बस इतना सा फर्क है। धूप छांव में फर्क बस इतना सा। तो बस चलिए फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया के साथ ये फर्क मिटा देते हैं। फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया, 20 years of ideas.
A very good afternoon to each and everyone who has joined us today for our webinar series. With the great hope that all are safe and healthy, we welcome each one of you to our business opportunity over chai series. Franchise India is 23 years old business consulting firm with reach and presence in more than 80 plus offices with 275 business consultant, and every day our consultant are helping each and every investor in getting the right business suggestions from our side. And we truly claim that no one sells more business than us, because we have helped more than 5,000 international and national brands to expand their business with our franchise expansion. With this introduction, it is our delight to welcome the management team of Franchise India. Sonia ma'am, she's a founder of Franwork. She's helping day in, day out all the investors in providing her suggestions with us. We also welcome Venus. She's a part of Frank Global team. And today we'll be talking about a great opportunity which we have got for you. Cryo is the opportunity we brought for you. But before I invite Mr. Benny, who will be talking about this brand, I would like to invite and welcome Sonia ma'am to talk about our one very important program which we have run for each one of you, which is. So over to you, Sonia ma'am, to specifically talk about this program, and then we'll take a correct and complete understanding about the brand.
Thank you so much, Ashna, and welcome all our friends, our panel members. Our brand for today, Mr. Benny Parihar, along with Venus, who heads India Fran Global Operations and is an international arm. And this is the company which helps all the international brands for their India entry. And friends, I'll take also a minute to explain you about the Investor Advantage program that we have started, where our team works with every investor who's looking at buying or thinking of buying a business. Our advisors across the country, including our independent franchise consultants in more than 85 cities in India, work with every investor who needs any kind of personalized solutions or guided assistance in buying a business. They can get registered for Investor Advantage program, which starts for a period of 6 months to 1 year, where you can get registered and you can get these personalized services. At the same time, we're also offering no obligation meetings, which anyone, even if you don't want to get registered, we are blocking 30 minutes every day with the 5 investors between me, Mr. Gaurav Maria, who's chairman of the Franchise India Group, and also our independent franchise consultant. So every day there are 5 meetings that we are blocking amongst ourselves, and there is no charge for these no obligation meetings. Neither you are expected to register, but these meetings can help you brainstorm the options and maybe help you evaluate the options that you're looking for in your city for yourself. And I will also add, whenever you want to evaluate these opportunities, also bring your inner circle, your family, partner, friends, anybody who are also instrumental in helping you take this decision or are participating in any form in the business overall. And before I invite now Benny, I'll also request Mr. Maria, who's chairman of the group, also to address every investor who has come in, followed by Venus to make a formal introduction of the brand, and we shall get started.
Thank you, Sonia, and welcome, friends, and welcome to Monday morning edition of our regular webinar. This is a regular series which we do. We also have started this business consultations, which is happening every single day. We have already completed a large amount of consultations last week. So if you're not really booked for the consultation, this is actually an opportunity which we're giving to our investors because they have time and they're at home and they want to really explore what is the right opportunity for them. They want to go through in detail. So our consultants are working day and day night to really work with you to advise you what is right for you at this stage to look at it. This is absolutely free, no charges. You can book your slot for 30 minutes and we take you from a understanding where your experience is, what your investment appetite is, what your location is, and depending on that, we will suggest you the right industry or a particular right brand. Also, 7 o'clock, we have a city-based show, which happens also very, very, every 7 o'clock in the evening, we bring in 5 odd brands to you, different industries, handpicked for that particular city. So also attend that, webinar. And now I'd like to bring in Venus, who's a CEO for Fran Global, looks after the international part of Franchiseindia Group. Fran Global works on market entry. They bring in a lot of global brands to Indian market and vice versa. So a lot of Indian brands who also aspirant to go international. Venus and team works largely in Southeast Asia and GCC. That's our larger part of our business, while we bring opportunities largely from West, which is Europe, United States, and Australia. Most of these markets are very aggressively looking at Indian market because it's a large consumer space. And buying a master or starting an area franchising is a long-term viewpoint. You should always look at a 10 to 15, 20-year horizon when you look at to partner with the brand, which is an international market entry. But it's a good timing to really start exploring that discussion. And as we have better situation in India, probably start working on setting up your business, get your pilot run, get your proof of concept, and then start multiplying within other parts of the cities. So over to you, Venus, for your comments and also to introduce our panelists today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gaurav. Thank you, Sonia, Archana, and all the FIBL team. You do this every day. Very impressive. And thanks for having us today. I'm Venus Parak, and I'm the CEO of Fran Global, and we primarily work with international brands, as mentioned, and help them find the right partners in India. And very, very excited today to introduce and present to you this brand, which is the latest technology into wellness, recovery, fitness, and we today I have the co-founder and the CEO of Cryo, who is going to share with us, of course, his journey for the brand, and of course where the business and brand is today, and plans for expansion and development. Benny, I welcome you and thanks for joining us from Dubai today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. Pleasure to be here.
And Benny, of course, you have a connection with India. So I think, why don't you start with that? And I also know that as part of your another business, you're also involved with some of the supplies which India is facing shortage of. So let's get started with that. And then, of course, we will give audience who have joined us and who are watching us live on Facebook about the brand and the business.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Venus. So I do have a connection. I'm originally Indian. I was born here in Dubai, but obviously come back to India quite often. So I'll get a little bit into it. So the company is called Cryo. We're actually a vertically integrated low temperature medical device manufacturer. where we manufacture cryotherapy devices that help diseases like inflammation, and that's how I got into it. I'm an avid climber. I do mountain climbing quite often, and around 7-8 years ago, I had a pretty bad injury on my knee. And at the time, the doctor that I was, or the orthopedic that I was consulting, had pretty much told me that, look, you need to rest for about 8 weeks before you can try climbing a mountain. And at that time, I had just left California from university and come back to Dubai. And a friend of mine had told me about this low temperature treatment that could potentially help my recovery. So I flew to California, started doing the treatments quite often. And within 2 to 3 weeks, I started feeling like I was pretty much brand new again. So came back, saw the orthopedic, and the orthopedic was like, whatever you've done has helped you recover faster. And pretty much that's where our journey began. And we started thinking about how can we offer this treatment to the world and make it more accessible. And at that time, just from a historic perspective, cryotherapy was pretty much looked at as a medical treatment. In Germany and in Poland, cryotherapy is covered by your national health service. As long as you have a prescription, it's covered. But the rest of the world, it was pretty much unknown. So in 2013, we started this concept and started to offer this treatment to the general public. Mind you, at that time, there were maybe about 20 places globally that offered this therapy. And now we're at around 6,500 locations, around 7 years later. So cryotherapy is really growing, and I'll take you through the presentation a little bit better. I can talk about trying to freeze your body as much as possible, but I think what would be easier is to maybe show you guys a video of what the experience looks like, and then we'll get into the presentation.
Sure, Benny, that sounds like a plan.
Sure, so I'm going to show you a quick video here. Just let me know when you can see my screen.
We can see it, yes.
Awesome. Yeah, you can still see that?
Yes.
Awesome. So sorry, yeah, started. So that's what it is. It's pretty much trying to think of cryotherapy as exposing your body to a low temperature in order to stimulate a physiological reaction. The history of cryotherapy is actually in the 70s, a Japanese doctor was pretty much trying to figure out how he could use a substitute to ice to pretty much help people with rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, diseases that cause inflammation in the joints. And usually when you put an ice pack on, it's not the most pleasant experience, and it takes around 30 minutes of it to be really effective. So what he started to do was he started to use different medical gases, and ideally bring gases which go down to minus 140 degrees Celsius and expose the body to those temperatures in order to reduce the inflammation from diseases like I mentioned earlier. Now, from that point in the 70s, it's really come a long way, where before it used to be more of a spot treatment, where if someone had, let's say, arthritis in their hand, and you would pretty much be exposing nitrogen to that hand. Now it's reached a point where it's obviously much safer. We as part of our core business, and maybe this is, I'll touch on it from a gas perspective as well. So Cryo Holdings manufactures and does a lot of R&D for cryotherapy devices. And what it really is trying to expose the body to temperatures of minus 110 degrees Celsius to minus 140 degrees Celsius for a range of different health and physical and mental benefits. And from a perspective that it originally started off as a medical treatment, but what we started to see over the last maybe 20 years is that it has so many auxiliary benefits. When you go into a chamber which is minus 140 degrees Celsius, your blood circulation increases, the count of your enzymes increase, the amount of protein, serotonin. I don't know if many of you have probably taken a really cold shower, and you must have noticed that it wakes you up in the morning. So from that perspective, it's kind of similar, but imagine it being at a supercharged level because it's at minus 140. Now, through this whole journey, what we've realized is that the benefits are so vast from a weight loss perspective, because when your temperature goes down from 36 degrees Celsius to 24 degrees Celsius, to come back, it takes calories. For athletes who train a lot, it's been a godsend for them. So we have around 1,000 installations around the world now. So it ranges from physiotherapists to sportsmen to athletes to people who just want to feel good. And actually, that is really where the experiential retail aspect of our clinics are doing so well and growing really well. Is all the benefits aside, what it really helps our customers do is feel much better. So that's kind of what I wanted to start off with, and I'll jump into the presentation now.
That sounds great, Penny. In fact, and somewhere I want you to cover, because we have cryogenic therapy at one end, and the second one on the other end, we have heating, which is of course very, very mainstream, and which of course is has multiple. It's almost like everywhere. So I would imagine with the advent of now cryo technology, it would be competing in terms of space as well, across wherever you would have the heating therapy, which of course between sauna and steam is almost everywhere available, both irrespective of whether it is a Western country or an Eastern country.
Yeah, I mean, think of it this way, like the same way a health club has a steam or a sauna, some places also have snow rooms or ice rooms.
Yes.
Now cryotherapy devices are popping up all over the place. I mean, our largest market is North America. The US market is where we do majority of our installations. And it's also the largest cryotherapy market in the world because of sports. Obviously, a lot in terms of also the technology itself is very readily available there. And from a perspective of you need nitrogen gas, or historically you need nitrogen in order to get to these low temperatures. And I think, Venus, you were asking this earlier in terms of our other division, is that we also have a gas company in our portfolio that pretty much supplies medical gases to these clinics and allows us to have a uninterrupted supply chain. Think of it like if you're a restaurant franchise, you need your food produce. The same way in our model, you need these gases in order to be able to get to those low temperatures. And here in the UAE, we have a gas company called Cryo Services, which actually for the last couple of weeks has been trying to support as much as they can with the oxygen deficiency in India, and also from a concentrator standpoint. And that's been actually one of the great things, is that we have this access to it, and we're able to at least support our community during this period.
Thank you.
So shall I start the presentation then?
Please, let's get going.
Okay, awesome. So expanding the future of wellness. So I'm going to be taking you through the brand story, our customer segments, our services, our centers currently, and then our franchising plans. So who are we? So Cryo is a one-stop shop that is focused on wellness, performance, beauty, recovery, and slimming treatments. All the services are highly personalized using the latest technology and devices that truly deliver results with additional guidance of true experts. So this is a very important point, is that this is not a medical clinic. And that's sometimes people don't realize that, and they kind of scare away from it. But think of this as a new age balance between wellness and rehabilitation. And we sit in a very unique segment where some people would call it a spa, some people would call it a rehabilitation center, but we like to call it a cryotherapy center. And here the idea is that we use different technologies to be able to get to the goal of our different clients and our patients. So why we started? So we started when we realized that cryotherapy treatments needed to be freed from the luxury rehabilitation centers to help more people discover their body's potential. Back in the day, these cryotherapy treatments were mainly in Switzerland, Germany, and really, let's say, high-end physiotherapy or chiropractic practices. And we started to see that ideally we needed to find a way to make it a bit more accessible. So consumers need guidance with their wellness routine. Our team of physiotherapists and the leading equipment that we have potential of taking the client's wellness goals to the next level. The wellness industry is crowded, as you must know. There's a lot of spas, there's a lot of centers that ideally claim to do a lot of things. We really believe that from the last, let's say, decade, we see that technology is playing a very crucial role in the wellness journey and in the wellness industry as a whole. So our clients crave the expertise and the clarity from a truly knowledgeable and trusted source that knows everybody is unique and requires a personalized solution. And that's very important here, is that also remember that this treatment is a form of therapy. So it's very important that to identify the goals of the customer and the patient in order for us to be able to give them something that really helps them. And once we are able to identify that, then our retention is very high, because that ideally makes people realize that this is something that they need to adopt into their daily lives. So cryotherapy needed to be more accessible, as I said earlier. Until recently, cryotherapy devices were only available at hospitals, rehabilitation centers, and at Cryo, we offer a new kind of experience that is technologically driven with the human element. So our vision is to make cryotherapy a regular addition to people's health routines worldwide by leading the way in education and awareness about cold therapy and its healing properties. And the education part is very important, as I'm sure a lot of you on this webinar today are probably the first time you're hearing about a treatment like this. So part of our mission as a corporate brand is definitely, when we go into new countries, is not just to bring light to our business and the locations, but it's more about educating the market about this therapy and its properties. So our mission is to become the undisputed leading brand of cryotherapy centers in the world by creating an invigorating and individualized cryotherapy experience that clearly improves the health and wellness of every one of our clients. And to kind of shorten that off, what we like to say is that we're in the feel-good business. Ideally, when people walk in through our doors, whatever their issues may be or whatever their goals may be, they always leave the locations feeling better than when they first walked in. So it's definitely, from an experiential perspective, that's what we're aiming to do. So our brand values is that we're innovative leadership. We're very customer focused. We're dedicated to results. We prioritize safety, and we are improving on the education side of it. And by the innovative leadership, what we really mean is that due to our portfolio of companies, especially in the cryotherapy space, we are always one step ahead of the whole market in terms of what the best effective treatments are. How do we get to those temperatures? How do we keep the costs low? So ideally, from that perspective, we not only do you have a partner in your franchise business, but you also have a partner in the technology and the health part of it, which is very important. So about the Cryo brand and its tonality. So we believe that the brand is bold. Cryo Stay Young is the undisputed market leader, and that's reflected in our tone. We're definitely the largest cryotherapy business currently in the world from a perspective of the number of devices that we have, our footprint of clinics. So it definitely makes us, let's say, the authority in this space. And we also have a lot of digital assets from a perspective of cryo.com. And we have great SEO and a lot of assets around that word and the trademarks around it. So we've really become, let's say, the market leader in this space. We're exciting. The constant feeling of excitement and evolution should be sensed in the Cryo tonality. We're progressive. Leadership, the innovative leadership that I spoke about, we're quite premium. So that's also a very important part over here, is that the feel and the consumer journey in our clinics or in our cryotherapy center, sorry, is very, very premium. And then, as I said, the authority on the education side and the industry is definitely coming from our different vertical integrations in this space. So this is an interesting slide when we look at it. So in 2012, we first came across cryotherapy, as I told you earlier. We had our first store in Dubai in 2013. We made a very strategic acquisition of cryo.com here in 2014, which actually has become, let's say, the holy grail for not only just our clinics to drive traffic to them, but also to our franchise network. And that website is pretty much, let's say, if anything around the world, when people want to understand about cryotherapy, now cryo seems to be the term more than even cryotherapy. So it's been quite a great source for our business. Then we established Cryoscience, which is our R&D and technology business, which is based out of the EU in Poland. In 2016, cryotherapy started to get more recognized as the fastest growing wellness treatment globally. Before that, there's a lot of, and this was actually helped in 2016 because there was a huge issue in the world that people were really taking a lot of, let's say, pills and pharmaceuticals to reduce, let's say, their pains or, trying to make their health better. And we started seeing the shift around these years where people were looking for more non-invasive therapeutic treatments in order to be able to feel better. And this was also the year where in the US that they made it illegal for doctors to write prescriptions for opioids and pretty much for pain medication. And that we started seeing the resurgence of a lot of different technologies that can help people reduce their pain. So that's really where the year where it really grew. We opened our first franchise location in Kuwait in 2017. And in 2018, we started adding more technologies into our business. And we started moving, we kept cryotherapy as our core focus of the business, but we started adding different, we call them modalities. You have to think of them as services or technology to add onto it. So we added light therapy, which I'll go into the presentation later, pressotherapy, and then slimming treatments as well. Then we opened our first location in Australia in 2019. And in 2020, recently, we've opened in Thailand. And both these franchises are actually on their way to open their second, third, and fourth locations. And our goal is that by 2021, we will have our 20 countries fully operational. And we're pretty much going to be, I think we're going to be passing that point already. This is a little bit of coverage. You'll see this from a perspective that no matter which language or country you're in, you'll definitely see some press around cryotherapy. There's a lot of, let's say, celebrities also that use it. So that's that's been a great, let's say, catalyst for the growth of the business, is that it's also very social media friendly. It looks really cool. So it's been growing pretty well through the press. So I'll take you a little bit into who our customers are from a perspective of who's walking in through the doors. So we have 5 key target audiences, which is performance, beauty, slimming, overall wellness, and recovery. So I'll go a little bit into each one. So wellness, we've seen globally that what usually exists around the market is either it's very high end or it's not that great. Also, we see that there's a lot of people who claim to be doing cryotherapy, but cryotherapy actually is only deemed a medical treatment if you're at a certain temperature and if you do it under the right protocols. So from a wellness standpoint, what our customers really want is they want accessibility, they want affordability on the treatments to boost their immunity. That's been a huge part right now. From a wellness perspective, these are people who maybe don't have any issues or problems, and they just want to feel better. And one of the main benefits of cryotherapy as a treatment is the strengthening of the immune system. And that's been one part of the undiscovered benefit that, it was always there, but, people were always thinking more about its immediate benefits from a perspective of, oh, it reduces my pain, my back feels better, I can run better. But no one was really thinking on what it was really doing from a long-term perspective. And the boost and the strengthening of the immunity has started to become such an important part now, especially with diseases like COVID going around. If you have a stronger immune system, you're definitely going to be able to not get sick as badly. I foresee I don't get a cold easily. I mean, from a perspective that if you add these type of these type of things into your routine, you definitely get a lot of immunity. And actually, that's a good point to sort of say to the viewers, is that what we saw was that in 2020, as long as the locations are not locked down and they're not going through, let's say, a governmental restriction, we saw that the franchises or the corporate-owned locations, as long as they were allowed to operate, they were doing better than they were doing in 2019. And that is actually where we started realizing. And also we have a lot of data. We have nearly 1,000 devices that are connected to the internet. So we get to see a lot of live data in terms of usage. And we definitely saw that in 2020, the customers started to become more health conscious. And as long as they weren't in a restrictive lockdown, they started to be able to come out and use the treatment more than they were doing before. And immunity has a big part to do with that. And also in our locations, we have doctors and physiotherapists who are the experts. So there's definitely a sense of knowledge and education that we give to our clients. And they also, of course, help them create a personalized routine. Performance. So there's either very expensive cryotherapy or rehabilitation sessions, and the technology that's being used majority of the time is really not being audited. The quality of devices you'll see at a physiotherapist or a chiropractor is ancient. They're using things like balls and different pressing techniques, but ideally the idea over here is to be able to bring better technologies. And what our customers seem to want is accessibility, again, affordability of the treatment to boost their performance, expert physiotherapists who implement the latest modalities and create routines that work for the fast-paced performer. So these are the categories that I showed you earlier, which is recovery, beauty, and slimming. So what exists today in recovery are, expensive doctor appointments, the lack of non-invasive options. They always want to just operate on you and try to either put you on a pill. And what our customers are really looking for is, again, that accessibility and the affordability to reduce their pain for non-invasive options. That's very important. Everything that we do in our centers is non-invasive. And then again, the doctors and the physiotherapists, we're trying to find you a therapeutic healing way of getting better rather than trying to inject you or trying to do some sort or recommend a surgery to you. Now, the beauty part has actually become quite interesting, is that one of the main benefits of cryotherapy when you expose your body to these low temperatures is the production of collagen. And that you'll notice that, when you go out on a cold day and your cheeks go red, it's pretty much your epidermis and your skin trying to stay warm. And it's a form of an exercise for your biggest muscle in the body, which is actually your skin. So what's starting to happen is that there's so many different benefits that we've started to realize through cryotherapy that the beauty segment for us is pretty big. And as you know, beauty sometimes even trumps recovery. And, unfortunately, that's the case in a lot of places around the world, that we, of course, want to look good. But what we believe is that if you are overall healthy, and you take care of your health, beauty comes as part of that. And, if you're healthy, you're going to have healthy skin as well. So what do we see in the beauty market? There's an overwhelming choice in the market. As you must have seen, there's so many different things out there. There's expensive and cheap treatments, and then there's very few expert brands. What our customers want, again, is that accessibility and affordability. Dermatologists, and so we, at our locations, we have dermatologists or estheticians who are the experts. And again, they help them create a personalized skincare routine with cryotherapy as part of it, or other devices, which we'll go into later. Slimming. This is, again, something that we discovered through cryotherapy. Was one of the things that was happening as the clients were doing cryotherapy, was that they were losing weight. But also we started realizing that there are treatments around the world right now and devices that freeze your fat. They're quite painful usually. And we started to look at that treatment and started to think, okay, there must be a better way to be able to give the customer or the patient the same benefits without having them to be in so much pain. And that's when we started working on the technology in our R&D teams in our factories, and pretty much started developing technology that helps you contour your body in a, let's say, in a less painful and in a more pleasurable way. And that part of the business is, and as you know, these slimming treatments are all over. A lot of promises, but not a lot of substance. And here, because we're using technology, and then obviously also a lot of feedback mechanisms to see that, okay, the person has actually lost X amount of fat or X number of inches, is very important. So it's very result-based and technology-driven. And we help them create a personalized slimming routine there as well. Venus, let me know how my speed is. I seem to ramble sometimes also.
That's fine.
Okay. So a little bit about our client profiles. From a gender perspective, we are quite even. The customers that come in through the doors are pretty much 50-50, and that goes globally. But of course, that also depends on the franchise's location. Again, in the Middle East, we also help our franchisees with locations which are segregated by male and female as well. So the age diversity also varies, but currently what we really see is that majority of our customer is in that mid-age segment of 25 to 34, and then growing all the way till 55 and over. We have a pretty high retention rate for something which is so new. We have 56% retention if you come in through the doors. 26% of our clients visit us on a monthly basis, not just for something that they have a pain, but they're pretty much coming in majority of the time to just increase their wellness. We have a great net promoter score. And then, whenever we do our reviews and we do our trust pilots and people leave us reviews, now this is across the board in all our countries and all our locations, we're at 4.6 stars. People really enjoy the treatment as well. Again, when the customer comes in, I showed you those 5 categories that we split them into. So that's definitely gives us a better idea of where the revenues are coming from. So 30% of the revenue comes from wellness, 25% of it comes from slimming, 20% from beauty, 15% from performance, and then 10% from recovery. Now I'm going to take you through some of the services. These are all the different treatments and services that we offer at our locations and to our franchisees. Think of all of these as also lines on your P&L in terms of all the different treatments that we give. And the idea is that we make it broader and broader from those 5 categories, and ideally try to add different treatments into it to sometimes increase marginality, sometimes to reduce it, depending on the frequency of the treatment and how it works. So cryo body. So here I'll take you through a little bit about the treatments. So cryo body is you stepping into a large chamber. Ideally, this is the, let's say, the anchor treatment for what people come in for. Majority of our customers, as I said earlier, 50% nearly come in and they definitely do a cryo body treatment. The beautiful thing about this treatment is that it only lasts 3 minutes. And that, from a perspective of going in and out of the door, I did a cryotherapy treatment yesterday. From the point that I checked in at the reception to the point that I walked out was around 14 to 15 minutes. You know, from changing my clothes, having a tea afterwards as well, but it's quite express. So, and the benefits from this treatment are that it accelerates muscle recovery, it relieves pain, enhances performance, reduces stress and fatigue, improves sleep and boosts immunity and improve blood circulation. I know sometimes it sounds like it's a lot, but what you have to realize is that when you are exposing your body to minus 110 degrees Celsius, there's so much going on. And actually what is going on is that your brain is telling your body that, hey, it's way too cold here, do something. And ideally your blood circulation starts to go, you start to shiver. And these are all mechanisms on being able to counteract that low temperature. And this is why the benefits are so vast, because of this physiological reaction that's happening in your body. So that's cryo body. Localized cryotherapy. So we call it localized cryo. This is pretty much localizing the treatment. So as you can see over here, this is a device that you can then use to pretty much do a spot treatment, like right on your elbow, on your shoulder. This is great if you have a specific pain. Like, so when I told you earlier, I had that problem with my knee, which I still do sometimes. Ideally, you need to be able to do it on a specific muscle and joint. And this is a duration of 10 minutes. You must see in this presentation that sometimes it says deluxe. We sometimes break the treatment into an express and a deluxe. Express is for people who want to get in and out as soon as possible, and deluxe is ideally for people who want a little bit more of a consumer journey, where they want to have a tea at the start, they want an assessment, they ideally want something relaxing later on as well. And the benefits to this treatment are that relieves pain, it reduces inflammation, and it speeds up recovery. The Cryo Facial, again, as I told you earlier, the benefits are also quite beauty specific. And again, the same device, now this is important to know, is that the same device that's being used for the localized cryotherapy is also being used for the Cryo Facial. So what this does is it brings out the skin's glow through a 10 minutes of localized cryotherapy application. The cryogenically cooled air reaches minus 160 degrees Celsius and it activates collagen. And it pretty much produces collagen in a layer which is deeper than usually what your skin care routine creams give you. And as I was telling you earlier, it's think of it like when you go out on a cold day and your cheeks go red, but you're doing that at a much higher level, and you're ideally trying to close the pores. So the benefits are it rejuvenates the skin, it boosts collagen, reduces fine lines and wrinkles, and that helps you attain a youthful glow. And this one has actually been quite popular, because also you can also do it with your makeup on, which is a great lunchtime facial option. And again, by the way, I won't say that it's only women who use this, it's male and female. You definitely, once you add it in and you start doing it, let's say once a week or once every 2 weeks, you can actually feel that elasticity of your skin staying there. Ideally you'll start feeling that when you're really cold, you feel this tautness, and that stays with you for days even after the treatment. This is the Cryo Slim Body and the Slim Cellulite treatment. This, as I was telling you earlier, is pretty much a device where it has a front node which goes really cold. And ideally you start to, this is not for, let's say, weight loss, it's more for slimming. So if you have stubborn fats, you want to fit into your dress, or you want to go into beach vacation and you want to be able to at least have some more definition or be able to help with the love handles, what this really does is that it freezes the upper layer of your brown fat and it crystallizes it. Think of it like if you take a glass of water and you put it in the freezer for just a few minutes, and then just the upper layer of it freezes. Think of that. That's what this device is really doing inside on your brown fats, which is usually your more stubborn fat. And ideally, after the treatment is done, that fat goes from crystallization to liquid, and ideally it dissipates, and then you usually lose it through lymphatic drainage. And this has actually been, I mean, we stay fully booked for this treatment. And also this device, we can't build them fast enough. We're pretty much always sold out for at least 4 to 5 months at a time. So it's definitely, as I was saying earlier, Venus, that unfortunately people want a quick fix. And actually, this is a safe way to do that. So the areas that you can focus on are the love handles, the belly, the legs, the arms. The duration of this treatment is let's say the belly part is around 60 minutes. And then for cellulite on both legs, it's usually 120 minutes. What this does is it eliminates stubborn fat, it tightens the skin and reduces cellulite. So you can only imagine why we're so booked for this all the time. So that's definitely one which is growing in popularity. So the same device, and I'll tell you guys that you're going to be seeing that a lot of these technologies are going to be used all across. So you saw that the localized device was also being used for the local facials. The slimming device is also now being used here for toning. So all the devices just have different settings for different benefits and goals. So that's important to bear in mind, that the different technologies have a lot of different purposes and different benefits in the end. So same thing that I spoke about earlier, ideally you can be able to do that everywhere. You can do it on muscles. So ideally, if you want to have more definition, as I was saying, for abs, ideally for me, before when we used to travel, I was definitely doing this treatment from a perspective of looking a little bit more lean than I actually was. So that definitely helps. Ideally, you can do it on the abs, hips, arms, upper back, chest, butt, thighs. Duration for this treatment is 40 minutes. Again, the benefits is smooth and tight and loosened skin, body contouring and firm muscles. Same device, again, on the face. Think of it as, again, you're trying to boost collagen, tighten skin. It's a non-invasive facelift. So a lot of people who are coming to us are people who actually have tried out things like Botox, facelifts, and you name it, right? More invasive aesthetic treatments. And what we're starting to see is that that's starting to get a little bit older, from a perspective that people want natural and they want something which is non-invasive and doesn't really leave them looking like, pardon my French, I mean, it makes them look quite similar to each other from a perspective of, the same cheeks and nose and that type of stuff. So we definitely see that people are coming in for people who've gone from an invasive sort of treatment. Now they're looking for different stuff. So ideally, the slim facial is quite popular now. Again, we can then combine different technologies in the facial. So I showed you the glow facial, which is a cryotherapy facial, but ideally we also then mix the slimming. We also use red light therapy and energizing light treatments. Sorry about that. Energizing light in the treatments. So ideally, to be able to add different technologies into it is something that's quite important. And then there's the CryoThor body. Now, this is a very interesting one. We've just recently started adding this modality into our cryotherapy centers. This is red light therapy. And the scientific name for it is called photobiomodulation. And you're using infrared light to pretty much reduce inflammation in your body. it's quite complementary to cryotherapy. Now, just remember when you're sleeping in this bed, it's not that you're getting, I'm really sorry, I have to get that. Just give me one moment.
Sonia, how we are doing with time?
I think we'll have to expedite, Venus, if we can come. On the
What is the hard stop?
It's a 1 hour webinar that we do.
Okay, so I'll ask Benny to.
We can go on the financial business model and what is the value proposition for our prospective partners.
Sure.
If we can
We have
cover
one for that.
Yeah.
So Benny, with
we'll also start taking questions from our audience, and I do see some questions which have already started pouring in, and we can go ahead taking them. Yeah.
Sure. So we'll quickly finish, Benny, and then share our financials and then take questions.
Sure. I'll speed up into it. So ideally, you're going to see that there's quite a lot of different treatments that we can do. Again, this is moving more into physiotherapy, rehabilitation, again, using different technologies. And that's an important part here. We do a form of physiotherapy in our locations as well. Also LPG, which is a quite popular treatment as well. So as you see that it's not just low temperatures, but ideally it's mixing them all up. And so the services, so it starts with a free consultation where people come in and explain their issues and what their goals are. We ideally try to optimize and make a specific SOP for them. And then post-treatment, we're trying to figure out how did they feel? Did it help? Is that the right treatment for them? So that's a little bit about how the experience goes. I talked to you about the benefits already. Our centers. So this is our center in Abu Dhabi. Again, we have a pretty unique feel to our centers. We're trying to stay away from the clinic, trying to stay quite futuristic and progressive from a branding standpoint, as you can see here. And what are our franchise? So the model is quite important here. Again, we are a service revenue-based business, but ideally also people also purchase their packages or memberships, because as you ideally purchase, let's say 5 or 10 or a monthly membership as a customer, it becomes cheaper and cheaper. And I would say a good percentage of our customers are on plans and packages. We have, as I said earlier, women and men. We also have merchandising, cosmetics, and sales of products in there. And then again, what's very important here also to know is that because you're in 5 different categories, you have 5 different markets that you're catering to. So whether there's a health club next to you, that's the fitness people coming in. If there's the stay-at-home moms or the moms who are going to the supermarket, that's also a category. Marathon runners is a category. So that's very important, because what we see is that that's a very key ingredient for our franchise success, is that they be able to position all the different sort of segments, not just get stuck on one. And so we see a potential to develop around 50 clinics in India over the next 5 years. And ideally, maybe this I'll leave over to you, maybe, Venus.
Sure. Thank you so much, Benny. If I can bring in my colleague Anshul to share the perspective on the rollout and just an outline of the financial model. Anshul, you're there?
Yes, Venus, I'm here very much. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
Yes. So thank you, Benny. Thank you very much for this detailed presentation so far. And it's been great to understand the key aspects, right? Now, from the rollout perspective, as we've shown on this slide as well, there's of course a potential to develop 50 clinics in India over the first 5 years. And these 50 clinics, we believe, would come in the top 10 markets across the country, right? And as you can see, some of the locations that we mentioned, Mumbai, of course, 3, Pune 2, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, all these can do 2 units each. Delhi, of course, combined with Gurgaon and Noida, we should be able to bring 1 more unit there, right? So overall, about 50 units that can be done. We'll get to the details of what each unit looks like. And on the, so Benny, if you could go to the next slide, please. Yes. So these are some of the key assumptions we've taken for creating a unit financial model. At a unit level, so these numbers you see are in US dollars. And we're looking at a minimum carpet area in square meters, that is 200 square meter, or ideally 2,000 square feet. Assumed a rent value of $4,000, about 3 lakh rupees INR. And in terms of the investment, there is a significant investment on the equipment, and the details are shown on the second table in the middle. Overall, we're looking at 660, $660,000 sort of an investment. Convert to INR value, that is, very close to 5 crore investment per unit. And as you can see, about 80% of that investment is coming in the equipment side, right? On the third table, if you see, we also have, mentioned the average price points that we would like to charge in India. And also, basis some of the slides shown earlier, the therapy mix or the services mix that we expect to achieve in the market, right? So overall, we're looking at an average price point of $75 per service, which again converts to about 5,000 rupee or so per service, right?
Yeah.
Moving on to the next, where we have the P&L estimates and the ROIs. On the next slide, please. Yes. So typically the center, so given that we have this 11 equipment, and given the number of hours and people that we can do in a day on each of these equipment, there is an annual capacity to do some 100,000 therapies in the center in the year, right? 100,000 therapies can be done. But we also understand that this facility would not go to 100% utilization. And typically these centers end up doing, max about 25-30% of the capacity, right? So what we've done here is we've started with 9,000 therapies in the year at an average price of $75. So that converts to 676,000, and then grown that number by 15, 12, 10, and subsequently. So overall taken a very reasonable growth rate over 5 years of about 12%, right? So starting at 675,000 in year one annual revenue to about $1 million by year five, right? In terms of some of the cost heads, cost of consumables between 13 to 14%, royalty 6%, local marketing expenses, this is 4%, and this is all what you as an investor you would be spending in the market, of course, well guided and supported by the company. uh, and then there is fixed employee cost, rent, and some of the utilities. So overall, this is a very high margin business, as you would expect. And typically we're looking at under 2 years break even for this 5 crore investment in the project, right? How we support you, and finding the right location, that is very, very important in this business, to get the location absolutely right. Then design and architecture, you saw some of the center images, so that will be from the company. Cryotherapy equipment installation and training, so again the equipment is very important, and company would help you procure everything, install it, and give you complete training on how to use each of the equipment. Staff training, marketing support, and management appointment management system, which is a proprietary system that company has developed, that is also installed within your systems, right? So that's the process. Fill out the inquiry form. We set up a 30-minute call where we would like to understand your location, your investment bandwidth, and your interest in the category. We discuss more about the opportunity as to what, as per your location, how does that look like, and what is the potential in that location. Uh, of course, talk to our executive team, spend a day in our cryo center in Dubai. So you get to understand more about the business, meet our team, spend some time with them. Our teams from operations, marketing, finance. Mr. Benny would be there to, help you with all the information. And then we sign off and we start opening your first cryo center in the market. Right. So last slide, crave the cryo experience, as has been mentioned and shown in this presentation. This is absolutely a premium service and a need of the hour. People don't crave products or services; they crave the feeling, and that's what cryo brings to you. Experience should be all about invigoration and rejuvenation. Clients walk away feeling refreshed and healthier, and that's what we bring to as a future of wellness to India. That should be all. I think yes, that's. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Benny. Thank you, Anshul. So what we need to do is quickly go into some questions. And Sonia, if you can just quickly see some questions in the audience because we overshot our time. So thank you, Benny. It was a very elaborate, very well defined, gave a full experience. So I'll pick up the three important questions which comes to my mind, and then I will leave it on Sonia and Venus to also go and see some questions which they want to really ask from the audience viewpoint. One is, let's start with the three questions which I have in mind. One is the competition. While you said this whole, space started really growing globally, and now they have multiple installations. There are a couple of players in India also, which have these services available, and which they just bought the equipment and started under their own name and so on and so forth. So how do you really see the competition landscape really coming in? I mean, and while you have leadership now, what is the competition? That's one. Second, you gave different user groups, from people who coming from being athletes to performance to slimming to overall wellness to any kind of pain. So many. But if you want to give us a little bit of percentage of people using that, so what percentage you would see in Dubai? What percentage is using? So it will give us an understanding on that. And third, when you launch in India is looks like a large marketplace, but it's also very complex, and it also that it's not unlike in Dubai, where people are spending a lot of money for a health and wellness. It's not so much enticing. While it's changed significantly, especially on the beauty clinic sides, India is maybe at par with the world's best. So what is your market entry strategy? I mean, say, what is the first location? While we want to do 50, but which is the first few location comes to your mind where you would like to set it up, and you can even add what profile of person you're looking at doing it. So three questions: competition, understanding a target group mix, and also a little bit of a India entry focus.
Sure, thanks, Gaurav. So from a competition standpoint, there are, let's say, physiotherapists, chiropractors, dermatologists that are using cryotherapy in their practice. But from a perspective of a center or a clinic which brings all of this together, currently we are one of the only players globally that have this sort of mix of different technologies coming together. So from a competition standpoint, what we believe is what really differentiates us is actually the experience and what people go through in terms of what they're feeling, just from the way that the locations are designed, the way that they're lit, the way that the staff is being educated on the cryotherapy side and the other modalities. What we really notice is that there's no one in the space currently doing that. And actually what we notice is that when a franchisee, I'll take Thailand for an example here, is that when they go into the market and they create this sort of concept and they execute it correctly, they do become, let's say, the monopoly in that market on cryotherapy. They become the authority in it. And from a competition standpoint, that's quite interesting, is that there are several different technology providers. There are several different, let's say, businesses that are trying to give the same goals to the centers, but no one is using technology. No one is using their digital assets the way that ideally that I mentioned before. So from a competition standpoint, we really believe that we are quite far ahead from anyone who will just be a new entrant into the market. And trial and error is ideally the way that we worked on for the last, let's say, 5 to 6 years, on trying to make sure that our partners in the franchising space don't need to go through that. And when done correctly, you really make a huge space between yourselves and anyone else who wants to enter that market. So ideally, even if someone wants to open a center, they'll usually go to cryo.com and try to sub-franchise, or they'll usually be coming to us to buy technology. So we really do believe that that's our competitive advantage in the market. Your second question was about the customer demographic and let's say the personas that we've made and what mix that is. So in Dubai, it's quite well balanced. And that really is a testament to how you do your lead generation and your advertising. Anshul made a good point about capacities. We think of each one of our devices or each one of our rooms to be a revenue center. And ideally, what we start doing is that if we see that, okay, you know what, women are not coming in as much over here, that's when the performance marketing starts to work towards that, and ideally try to balance that mix. Now, that being said, different markets are different. Like from a perspective for example, in Thailand, maybe there's more people, or maybe the geography of where that location is physically, a certain type of demographic comes there first, whether it's an affluent, educated persona. And then it's our responsibility to kind of start analyzing that data and then start to drive those different segments into it. But what we would like to ideally see is to have a very balanced customer profile mix. And now about the market entry into India, we think that the top cosmopolitan, let's say high GDP locations, usually in a country, is a great place to start. From a perspective of, I think, Mumbai, Delhi, and other Cosmo cities are ideally the great place to sort of start raising awareness. Now, that's a very important point here, is that if initially launched in the right place, with the right investment, with the right location, these locations act like catalysts for awareness, because that's the most important part. As I said earlier, it is quite alien, right? Me and you can talk about freezing each other at minus 140 degrees Celsius for hours, but until you don't go try it and feel the benefits yourself, then ideally our biggest revenue generator when we look at our marketing reports is referrals. And from that perspective, and then after that is performance marketing and digital and Google and Facebook and whatnot. But we believe that from an Indian market strategy perspective, we definitely want to go towards those, the major cities first, to be able to get that educated, explorative type customer who likes to try new things, and then for them to become brand ambassadors and to really raise the flag of bearing the flag of going around and talking to their friends and family about this new treatment that they found. So from an India perspective, what Venus and her team and our teams have really figured out is that we need to go first to those major points. I don't know if I answered all your questions, Gaurav.
Sure, absolutely. Well answered, very well. So now over to you for a few questions which you can see from the audience, and Venus, you also want to pick up some questions, please.
So I think I'll just pick one question and maybe to Venus then. Penny, I wanted to check, because you already established in that market, in any new market, when a brand, enters, and especially I would say this is a new category and a new business, you being market leaders. Whenever a new partner signs up, what are the tips? And I'm sure every business have some influencers. So what is your advice, when somebody opens up? Is there an influencer group that he can reach out to? And how does he get started? And maybe typical profile of people you think are very apt for getting into this business?
So I think an ideal partner for us would be someone who obviously has an entrepreneurial spirit. And I think that is probably one of our most important aspects of when we look at our successful or more successful locations, is that the partner needs to be an entrepreneur and trying new businesses. Now, from a product portfolio investor standpoint, we think that if they are already in the healthcare business, that usually really helps, because from an HR standpoint, to be able to pull in talent to be able to work in these locations, market these locations. We noticed that partners that are in the healthcare space, beauty and wellness space, and understand that sort of how to operate those businesses and how to market it is another one. Fitness is definitely one growing part of it, is that if they have, we see some of our partners have franchise businesses in fitness already, and ideally look at this business as a add-on. What's very interesting and important to add there, Sonia, is that what we've noticed is that fitness currently, because of the lockdowns and because of COVID, less people are going to a health club, and fitness centers are struggling. Now, this is not just in India, this is globally. And what we start to see is that health clubs are trying to add an appointment-based type of system, because in fitness, personal training used to be a big revenue line. And what we start to see now is that we're adding these appointment-based wellness rehabilitation services into their portfolio, which helps them again try to revive their business. So from a partner standpoint, we really think that healthcare, beauty and wellness, and fitness are the right categories or the profile mixes of making the right mix for a partner.
Sure, very helpful. Venus, you want to pick up any questions from the audience? We have a few of them that we can pick and rest. I'm sure your teams can take up one-to-one with the interested prospects.
Yeah. I think I would most of these questions we can take one-on-one. I think I'll just like to expand because we didn't get to discuss the representation with what just Benny shared. Is this would be a premium proposition and offering for the Indian market. And as Benny mentioned, and we have also worked, is it would be most apt to open our first few centers between Mumbai, Gurgaon, South Delhi, Central Delhi, parts of Bangalore and Hyderabad. What's interesting is, as Benny shared, this would go very well along with if you are already running a premium aesthetics clinic, a high-end gym, and in that league. This would just make a lot more sense because you already have those audience, already have those prospective clients who you can actually get for this brand also. So that if you already are into these 2 or 3 categories, we also, and Benny and I were talking, Cryo now is also opening in some of the very best 5-star hotels also, because every hotel has a high-end or a gym or a wellness facility. Cryo actually is now also taking space in a couple of very reputed 5-star properties as well. And location is going to be very, very important because it is a high-end capital investment project. So all these combinations would actually make much more sense for us as well as you. And of course, Benny and his team also, when we are evaluating this. So that, of course, I think is an important point. Benny, you want to add anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, what currently, this is a very important thing for the viewers to understand, is that actually the business is quite resilient to these COVID periods, like not like an F&B outlet, which is completely died due to the lockdown. That's a very important part. And actually our franchise partners are doubling down during this period and trying to make sure that, listen, let's try to take advantage of this period of rentals being lower. And people are only leaving their house at selected times, and they're usually going to go to somewhere where they need to do all their services, whether it be go to a salon, whether it go to the supermarket. So what we've noticed is that high foot traffic locations like malls are starting to become quite, let's say, the choice that seems to work for our franchise partners.
Sure, and I've been to your locations in Dubai, which is actually in mall, and it does very well. It almost is booked 80% of the time. So it can be I think between Mumbai, Gurgaon, Delhi, it can be a standalone location. But yes, we can also open it in a mall as well. I've seen the location. I've been to the therapy as well. It is very good. You come in, you're out in half an hour. So it is almost like, getting your hair cut.
Definitely. And I mean, also just to add to your point that, we're currently just doing construction of our second location in Abu Dhabi, which is not too far away from our original space. But remember, it's all about convenience, right? Like you're not going to be driving 10, 20 kilometers to go do a 3-minute treatment. So you have to think about convenience. And from a perspective that you can really start opening these quite close to each other, as long as there's a pretty, let's say, large population demographic in, let's say, a space. So we've noticed that sometimes locations are literally across the street, but they're catering to different audiences. And again, that's also very important to note here is that by being in a high footfall traffic perspective is also ensuring the success of the business. And from a lead generation standpoint, and that's again something that I think is important, is that we have these proprietary social media and Google ways of bringing traffic, and that actually, once the location is set up, our teams can drive traffic to them quite quickly, because the word cryotherapy itself, it doesn't cost a lot to advertise, because it's a new upcoming word. If you say weight loss and fitness and beauty, it costs a lot on Google and Facebook to advertise those. So our customer acquisition cost is actually quite low compared to what our lifetime value that the customer brings through the doors is. So that aspect of the business is something that we've really mastered, and that's what we help the franchises be able to take advantage of.
Sure.
Absolutely. And I think some of the markets which will be very, very interesting is Mumbai, obviously very, very good market, top class market for this. Delhi NCR, Hyderabad is a very, very good market. And so if you are interested, just reach out to us and we will make sure that we set it up a full discovery day for you to really understand the business well, and given an opportunity, visit Dubai Center and take the full experience. Benny, anything you want to really say as the last words for our audience? Anything which you want to share?
I would definitely recommend for everyone who is thinking about this to come visit us. Hopefully soon you'll be able to travel to us soon. And the experience itself is actually what sells it, is being able to come to one of our centers, meet one of our team members, and actually experience freezing yourself. And that actually is the way which becomes quite addictive, that you want to always come back. And that's actually what the business is based on.
I did that. He's absolutely right. It is an experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you,
Sonia.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Over to you, Archana, for thank you.
So thank you so much, Benny, for joining in today. Thank you so much, Gaurav sir, Sonia ma'am, Venus, Anshul, for the lovely presentation. All the dear friends who have joined us today, we would like to thank you. Please do reach out to us at our business line number, which is 9717683838. We request each one of you to save this number in your phone book so that you get a regular updates from our site through broadcast messages. We are also available at the different social handles, information on your screen. Do share your feedback, suggestion with us, because that will help us in improving our process. We have done multiple webinars, multiple regional shows, and all are available under the video library of Franchiseindia Brands Limited. That's the site where you can go and you can rewatch all the previously done webinar. You can also connect with Gaurav sir and Sonia ma'am at their respective LinkedIn IDs, information on your screen. And we invite you to join us today for our 30 days, 30 cities show. Today we are inviting you to join us for Bangalore chapter, where our aim and objective is to bring again top 5 business opportunities for your cities. So at the same business hotline number, you can do registration so that you can join us sharp 7 p.m. to understand the journey of brand. And tomorrow under business opportunity 12 p.m. webinar show, we invite you to join us for authentic Turkish ice cream brand. Turkashnow is the brand we are bringing for you tomorrow. So please do registration for our evening show 7 p.m. as well as tomorrow 12 p.m. show at the same business hotline number. Thank you once again for joining in today. Have a safe day ahead. Keep very good care of yourself. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you, friends. Take care.